All right. Well, welcome everybody to MVP Office Hours. My name is Jared Kingston. I'm a solution architect with Aperio and MVP as well. I'm joined by one of my co-leaders, Dale. Dale, say hi.
Hi. I'm Dale Ziegler, Salesforce Practice Lead for Claris Group.
Awesome. And we are missing one of our fearless co-leaders, Jackie Travieso. She does she really honestly keeps a lot of this running. She's much more organized than myself. So we'd like to thank her for her efforts. But if this is your first time on MVP Office Hours, welcome. We like to open it up by highlighting some events that are upcoming within the ecosystem. Lightning Now tours, check those out. There's a couple Dream-Ins, Texas Dream-In, which is in Austin, as you can see there, May 11th through the 12th. And Rebecca, who's on the call, just put in there that they just announced that Erica Cool, who is our top level leader from the MVPs, she is going to be the keynote speaker. So that should be awesome. So you should make your way down to Austin. In Midwest Dream-In, we have rolling in August. That's always a great time. And then Witness Success, which I think is new this year. And we have Melinda on the phone who's going to give just a quick highlight of why you should check that out.
Hello. Yes, it is the first inaugural event. We tailored it to tag right onto Midwest Dream-In. So right after Midwest Dream-In, there are buses and an Allies dinner, and we can take you from one event to the next. The cool two things I wanted to mention is we are about to announce a really amazing keynote. We have one from Salesforce and then one very female women in tech oriented. And then I also wanted to put out there for anybody that we still have some sponsorship levels open. And instead of a trade show type floor or like where you go and check out the booths, we're going to try and tailor it a little bit more like a career fair type situation. So there could be some good opportunities for consultants too, looking to get some ROI from some sponsorships if you were able to chat with some of the women coming. So that's available. Reach out to us if you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Melinda. Now that's exciting that that's getting going. That's great. And then we got several other there. The Global Lightning Tour, obviously Dreamforce, and then World Tours. Several of those coming up. One in Chicago in June, I believe, and then I'm going to the Boston one at the end of May. So hopefully I'll see some of you all there. All right, let's go to next slide there, Dale. It's working. There we go. All right, so just a quick rundown. If this is your first time on MVP Office Hours, we do this every first and third Friday of each month, and it's really kind of an open Q&A discussion. I call it Answers Live. We really try to answer your question here. If we can't, right, we'll get with you on the community and answer there. We may point you in the right direction. We do post a recording out to our community group. That's just MVP Office Hours. So if you're not a part of that, definitely join it. And we also post it to Twitter. So if you're a Twitter user, definitely follow us at MVP Office Hours. It's pretty easy. We post the sign-ups as well as the recordings out there. Because it is open, we just ask that you mute your line so that we can hear the questions and the answers clearly. To ask questions, you can simply raise your hand in the web meeting, or sometimes we just have some blank airtime, and we'll just ask for somebody to speak up. So feel free to speak up. And just all we ask is announce yourself if you're asking a question or answering it, so we kind of know who's speaking as opposed to the man or woman behind the curtain. This is MVP Office Hours, and we have special guests and MVPs on the call as well. But if you have experience you think can help with the question, definitely feel free to speak up. It's all around us, all collaborating. And real quick before we move on, I was called that I missed out on an important event, and that's Trailhead X, June 28th through the 29th. So thanks, Igor, for calling that out. All right, let's move on to the next slide real quick so we can introduce our special guests for today. We have Amber Boaz on, who is a longtime MVP, a big-time Dreamforce speaker, knows a lot of stuff about Salesforce, as you can see there. I'm not going to read it to you. But we're really excited to have Amber on. Maybe, just maybe, she will tell us what the 9904 is on her Twitter handle today on the office hours. That's part of my hope at the end of this call. We will get that answer. So with that, Amber, this is your time to answer some questions. So you ready to go?
Do it. Who's got questions?
All right. So who wants to kick us off here with the first question? Don't be shy.
Hi, this is Tom Barrett. I'll go first since there was no one speaking. My question is about the ISV partner. I've Googled so much, and I see a lot of older things that talk about it. And I'm trying to get a clear answer. Does it cost to become an ISV partner to get the org? I think it's 2 orgs or whatnot. I understand it costs to submit an application. So my second part to that first question is, does it also cost to submit an application that you're willing to provide free?
I don't believe so. So here's how I think this works, and please confirm it with official sources, is you sign up to be a partner. You can submit a free application to the App Exchange. It still goes through a security review, but not with the cost. And then once it's, once it's available, you get, as a function of that kind of negotiating with the ISV team, you get an enterprise org with 2 licenses. And that's so that you can manage your application. Because what happens is that when someone is interested in your application, a lead is created in what's called the LMA, or the license management application, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. And it dumps that into that org that you're given, so that you can, know that somebody downloaded your free app. That's how I'm about 85% sure that's how that works.
Yeah, we're actually in the process of trying to get into the ISV space, and so that's Mark Ross is doing all that work, and everything you just said is exactly the hoops he has jumped through. So.
Yeah. First question, right?
So 100% it's free to join, because it's so much to read. I'm like, am I committing myself to some fee that I can't afford?
No.
So I mean, it's not exactly fee-based, but it is. There's a little bit of an honor code to it that, if they provision you an enterprise org with 2 licenses, you can do a ton with an enterprise org. So it's in return that you are earnestly trying to submit a viable product into the App Exchange, and then assuming it passes, security review and all that kind of stuff. So not necessarily a fee, but still a little something of a cost with trust. So.
Thank you.
Great question. Thanks.
And and so there is also, I don't know if we're supposed to advocate it or not, but it's also speaking for a good fellow MVP. But you can also, if you're a developer and you're in like GitHub and those, one of the more prominent packages that isn't on the App Exchange but is readily available, like the declarative lookup rollup summary package from Andy Fawcett. You can package all those things up and still make a product out of it. You can't charge money for it, but you can still, if you have a viable product that is a good service to others, you can go down that route as well.
GitHub, okay.
Yep. Good call.
And Rebecca Lammers posted in the chat a good, actually it's a trail on Trailhead. Yeah, that I will post out here.
There is.
Yeah,
Getting
getting started. Yeah, this is I mean, straight from the mouth you want, right? So definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think I perused this. It's
Okay.
and I actually started down the path to actually sign up, but then it has this disclaimer, and I'm not a lawyer, so I stopped. I was like, I don't know. I just don't want to have be charged something that I'm not making money off of. Okay, I'll take faith that it doesn't cost anything to sign up, and I'll go from there, and you'll probably see something on the App Exchange.
Awesome.
Right? Fantastic.
I Googled. I don't see this on the App Exchange, so hopefully people.
Well, and that's the thing is with it being a managed package, you've gone around the App Exchange. That's why it's in a collaboration forum like GitHub.
Right. Okay, I'll check into that as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so who wants to who's up next? Who wants to ask a question?
Nobody's got any questions?
Do you seem to ask for 9904, Miss Amber?
So my rule has been, and I will break it if you guys really want me to. My rule has been that you have to ask me in person, because some folks really enjoy the mystery of it all. So,
I will say, as an insider to that, I did particularly enjoy an evening of drinks at Dreamforce hearing that story. So
Ooh, I'm good then. I would prefer cocktails and in person.
Don't build up the story. It's kind of a lame story, guys. But the
not the
mystery
way you tell it, though. Not the way you tell it. It's all in how it's told.
I shall wait.
I love it.
Nice. All right, so who else? Like I said, don't be shy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, any of the particular areas we called out there. Any question, Salesforce-wise. Let's hear it.
I'll even try to answer non-Salesforce questions. I mean, I can't promise I'll be useful.
I have another question if nobody's going to speak up to utilize this time valuably.
Sure.
Okay. Batch Apex. And I'll probably figure this out, but since I'm here, maybe we can get the easy answer. But if you don't do the all or nothing equals false, and you say all or nothing equals true in the parameter, it's a batch fails, and it shows in the on screen that you have a batch that failed. And if you're using default, I understand it's 200 records that did not get processed.
Yep.
If I go the other way and I do all or none equals false, so that I actually catch, and I have to add the additional logic to catch the specific records that fail. On the screen under the jobs, will it still reflect that a batch failed, or does it on the screen not reflect a batch fail because you're handling failures of individual records? That's what I don't know.
I believe, and this is not my bailiwick, but I believe it gives you both. Batch 7 record 104 is the one that failed.
It'll show the record too?
I believe so. Now, at that point, why are you if you're going to process each record individually, using batchable doesn't make a ton of sense, unless you're doing asynchronous stuff. So the way I've seen folks use it is use it for testing, where you can go and then back on.
That's not me.
Somebody's got a puppy. And then turn that back on so that the entire batch would fail once you're in a more production-ready environment. again, I have not done that personally. I'm not a coder, so if there's anybody on the call who has, please chime in.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So this is Igor speaking. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I think, first of all, the batches are not necessarily 200. In Apex, you could define whatever the batch is. And it could be 1,000 records, it could be 10,000 records, it doesn't really matter, up to the limits of what you can actually query and process, as long as you keep your Apex limits, kind of in mind when you're coding that. So it's really, sometimes a developer would be clever enough to give you as an admin, it'll give you an access to some kind of custom settings that will tell you, okay, well, for these batches, you could make batch bigger or smaller. So it'll be a setting that will kind of fluctuate that. You probably set that to something like, maybe 200 or 1,000, whatever that may be, and that could run forever. But sometimes you may need to decrease that batch size. And typically when the batches do fail, it actually gives you, I think it's just one of the batches that failed. There might have been multiple that failed. It'll tell you how many, but you'll see only one of the errors. So that's possibly that you could have 1,000 records in the batch, and there might have been 5 records failed, but you'll get one first error there. But the 5th record might have been failing for a different reason. You won't see that error. You won't know that. So that's
okay. So your answer is that if I set it to not fail the whole batch, if I have an individual record that fails, it will reflect on the screen that there's a failure in that batch one. That's what I would expect to see. Did I hear that right?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah, you'll definitely see the batch failed. Yeah, and they will even tell you a record ID that one of them that failed, that the initial that failed. But you may have more records in that batch that may fail for the same reason, or it might be a different reason in logic. So.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because our user was right now, when a batch fails, all 200, because there's no parameter, so the default's 200 records, and all 200 don't get processed, and the user's like, but that's impacting us. If there's other valid records, we need to have them come to us, which is a valid point. And so I'm going to try to lead the developers to program it where the whole batch doesn't. The whole 200 don't get kicked out. Only the one specific individual records that have an issue get kicked out. And I was curious how that screen would look from a troubleshooting perspective. So thank you. Silence is killing me. I'm sorry, this is Tom again. If you guys aren't going to ask questions, I got more.
We do have one from the chat. Christy, the other half of 2Wit, would like Amber's and probably other opinions as well on Lightning, as well as favorite Lightning features.
Whoa, opinions on Lightning. I am not currently a user of Lightning, which makes me sad, except as it relates to Trailhead. I need to do more there and be better on that. I just haven't had the opportunity. Favorite feature? Ooh, it's like picking your favorite kid. I like favorites. Is that weird? The Spring 17 favorites, where I can favorite things. Favorites is my favorite. How about that?
Favorites is cool. Favorites is super cool.
Maybe that's a strong feeling. Love it, hate it.
I'll throw out some things. I mean, I've been doing a lot more with Lightning lately. This is Jared, by the way. And I mean, honestly, I think just like the layouts, the pages functionality is really cool. Definitely some power there. But it sounds simple, but like the new calendaring within Lightning is really nice. Like, you
Yeah.
can, you used to be able to just have a calendar for your tasks and events. But now you can add really any object to the calendar based upon, whatever date you choose. So, think almost like calendar anything, if you will. Still not necessarily that level, but multiple objects on a calendar is pretty awesome for standard functionality.
So one thing I will call out in general, and we've mentioned this on the last probably 4 or 5 office hours calls actually, is they have published a Lightning Experience roadmap. So obviously a lot of people have said Lightning hasn't caught up. It hasn't caught up. Well, Salesforce is becoming more and more public about what has caught up and what will be out there. So if you can see my screen, I have the roadmap out there. I will also share that to the MVP Office Hours success group, because definitely this is one that if you haven't made the leap to roadmap or to Lightning yet, this is a link to save so that you can start to plan for your org when to make that cutover. And then Christy added to the chat question from a consultant's perspective, what's the amount of, how many have rolled out? What does the rollout look like? And I know Jared, you and I are both consultants, but if there's any other consultants who want to speak up and speak to that as well.
Yeah, I think from a general rollout perspective, most of the new clients, right, we're trying to start with Lightning. But in general, and even for existing clients, the thing you always, I think, have to do, right, is just take a look at what your requirements are. Does Lightning support it? And if it does, then you can go, I think you should go down the Lightning path, right? But, there are still some things that aren't necessarily aren't in Lightning yet. So you may have to concede at that point and stick with Classic or Go Classic if you're starting scratch. But in general, it's kind of just a decision tree like that, right? Of just looking what's out there, and then maybe if it's on the roadmap in a release, you can wait for that to come out, or you maybe can't. But that's kind of the way, a general approach, if you will.
Is there any whisper of JavaScript through the buttons eventually working with Lightning? We have quite a few buttons that developers have put JavaScript.
JavaScript buttons are not supported in Lightning and will never be supported in Lightning. Those become essentially you have to use quick actions instead. We'll find different solutions.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, right? I don't foresee JavaScript support there coming back. I think the belief is that most of the things that you can do within a JavaScript button, the idea is to make that available within custom actions, right? And doing it that way, and that could be a Visualforce or Lightning, page within an action, or it could just be, straight configuration. But I think that's kind of the thought.
Thank you.
But what I am hearing as I talk to clients also is, they ask for other things on their existing implementations, and they say, we'd really like to go to Lightning, but we're still down to like maybe 1 or 2 more things that can't get us there. And so that gap is definitely closing, and there are a lot of customers out there that are actively thinking about Lightning, not because they're being told that that's the future, but they are that point of embracing it has hit us, and it's met with more and more positivity and counting down the things it'll take to get to do that. So.
Does anybody know when this particular doc is going to be updated, given that winter and spring are past and summer is coming very soon?
Well, so summer release notes come out on Monday, so I would imagine this might get refreshed with that.
I would hope. Okay.
I mean, there's no like I've kind of had the same question as well, and I've scoured the page. There's no date stamp on this page, which would tell me it's a living document. So it is a little surprising that it's a couple versions behind. But maybe Monday or next week we'll see an update.
If we don't, I'll go full Twitter on
them. You do that, 9904.
Can you paste that link in the chat?
Yes, I have it saved. This is my to-do list of things to post after the call, so definitely.
All right. What other questions do we have out there?
Well, I have a question. Since nobody's asking, I may ask a little bit of a community question. I don't know. Is there anybody from like MVP community or somebody who's more experienced has any documentation or resources on ability to basically build your own custom template for the community, kind of roll your own style?
You've got mail.
And also customize that and build that. That was interesting.
I don't have any documentation. I believe that that's something that, at least for now, if not, well, my understanding is that someday that will be open to anybody who wants to build their own templates, but for now it's open to the really big consulting partners who are building kind of industry verticals or those sorts of things. If you are already a member of the partner community, I would ask that question there, which is that URL, me.force.com, and see where that is in its life cycle. But I remember a couple of releases ago that being available to the big consulting partners.
Yeah. So this is Jared. So I can speak to that because we have one of the Perio and that I've been a part of working on, and I think actually I think now. Yeah, so I think when it initially came out, you're exactly right, Amber. It was really only kind of made available almost in like a beta or a pilot type release, so only certain people had access to it. But I believe now, I was just checking my dev org. Let's see. I believe now that Lightning Bolt should be available to you. So yeah, if you build that out right, then now you can save that as a Lightning Bolt solution within whatever org you're building it in, and then you create a package to just like you would like with an App Exchange package or an unmanaged package, you create a package that houses those community pages as well as any functionality that you've built into it. So objects, workflow, just like you would with any other unmanaged package.
Yeah,
does that help?
Yeah, I have seen that those configurations and that feature available in the community, and when you start building it out. What I was actually looking for more of. Are there any documentation or like implementation guides that sort of tell you, because it's unclear what technology, what can you use, how you would build the template, right? Because the template essentially, those are really presentation layers of kind of a website design. You're building some type of template for where your components will live, how they're going to be laid out, kind of layout pages, how many kind of pieces they'll be able to host and whatnot. So that's what sort of technology is used there? Is it all CSS, JavaScript, and stuff that you have to hand code all this, or seems like currently what is there is in a community builder you just simply can kind of assemble your own pages in some way and present them as a template. So I was wondering whether you could actually roll your own kind of a shell of a template and other things like that. Navigation.
Yeah. So you certainly can. I'm not sure. I'm looking right now what documentation out there. Honestly, I think a lot of it is it's so new. But I did find one article out there. What I will tell you, right, is that when you're building these lightning bolt templates, right, it's not like you're just going into like necessarily a template builder and just building a template and then applying it. You're essentially building out a fully functional community, right? And you're doing all of the custom UI UX work you want to do within there, and then within the community builder, you're able to essentially export that community, the layout, all the pages, everything like that, UI UX. You export that as a template so that, again, then you can combine that into, it has to be combined into a unmanaged package. And then you take that unmanaged package and you can install it in another org, or you can also reuse that template for another community within the very same org. But my understanding is if you're wanting to, build out the template, right, so that you can install in other orgs, you have to go through the same, packaging type process like you would with any app. But you start with building out the community, exporting it as a template, and then from there you can just include that template within your unmanaged package.
So is this kind of built out that bases off of, because each community typically bases off of some template already existing, whether that's a Visualforce, which will be a lot more hand coding, or it's existing templates that Salesforce provides or partners provides, right? So you would be including kind of that template as a base of it and effectively hacking its CSS in a way to build your own. Is that what that's?
Yes.
Yeah, you're overlaying it with your CSS and in any of your custom formatting, branding that you want to add into it, and controls. And again, that also includes any objects that you're adding in, whether those be standard or custom, any behind the scenes workflow that you're including that affects that community. All of that can be packaged together as a part of that template. But yeah, when you install it, it goes into Lightning Bolt Solutions within Setup under Communities. And so once it's there, anytime you click New Community, it's available with all the other templates that Salesforce provides. So you have those standard templates, and then you have whatever custom template you've created, and it generates it from that.
So it's not like building it once from scratch. There's no like way like you can build a template from scratch from the beginning, starting with like a shell itself and then building all the pieces to it, like a site generation.
No, you can certainly build it from scratch. I mean, and from scratch meaning like you usually start from like one of the Salesforce templates that are out there, like Napili is I think one of the most common ones. So you would start from Napili as your base template, and then if you wanted to customize the UI UX of that, you're then going to do that through your own custom CSS and storing that within static resources, et cetera, to override the standard Napili look and feel with your own custom look and feel. So yeah, you would start from one of those templates and then override, as you really see fit. And then, once you override it and package it up, then, it's a matter of just starting from that new template.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I encourage if any of you are doing stuff with communities and whatnot, definitely check out Lightning Bolt. It's definitely going to make the extensibility within communities pretty powerful. So it's some cool stuff. All right. What other questions do we have? About 20 minutes left.
I got a quick question since I got so many experts on the line.
Yeah, go for it. Who's this?
John Graff.
Hey, John.
Nice to talk to all you guys again. I just had a request walk into my office while you guys were on this call with me here. So since I hadn't had time to look it up, I thought the best resource would be you guys. We want to put a kind of a nagging email going out for approval processes that are sitting in the waiting for approval box. I forget. Is there a time delay action that I can put inside an approval process?
Oh.
I don't think there is an approval. Well, you know what? I bet you could do it with a process builder that calls an approval process. Basically,
that was my backup plan. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I knew I could do that. I just I didn't remember if it was in the native feature.
It's not a part of the native feature. You'd have to hack it together. What I have had some success with, and it depends on the appetite for this, is basically send a naughty list, send a report that is unapproved stuff that's unapproved for X days. That tends to get folks' attention more than a nagging email, because then there's the kind of peer pressure of, hey, you're not quite doing your job, get it together. But that depends a lot on politics and who it is that isn't approving and appetite.
Yeah.
Well, so riddle me this, though, because I seem to remember, maybe things have changed, but aren't approvals a not very leverageable thing? Like, I mean, obviously there's data if you have a queue that says these are what's up for approval, but from an actual data perspective, is there data to pull?
Yeah, so what you do is within the approval process, you'd manually set a status. Rather than relying on the approval status, you would have a separate, has this been acted upon appropriately, and act on that within your process builder. So.
Oh, gotcha. On the actual object.
Right.
It's just waiting for the approval. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're approving opportunities, let's say, you would have a field on there that is approved, and it would be a Boolean checkbox. And that's what the process builder would act off of. And so you would send, at 3 days, at 5 days, but only if that box is still unchecked. The problem is it's not going to go forever because you don't want to have 87, nodes in your process builder. Not that you couldn't, you probably don't want to. But at that point, maybe they go on a naughty list report that gets emailed to, the CEO or whoever.
Yeah, no, that's actually really helpful because I realize that our biggest offender here is one of our executive management team, and a lot of things get held up in his inbox. And by me just adding another 30 to 40 emails in his inbox that he's already not checking because he's got 400 in there, that's not valuable.
Yeah, if you've got one person that's mostly the bottleneck for very good reasons because they're an executive and they're busy enough, I would have the conversation of, look, I don't want to inundate you, so I'm going to send you a report of the stuff that needs your approval. You're just going to get this every morning or every Monday or whatever. Then you can go through and act on them as you see appropriate, rather than I'm going to send you an email nagging you about each thing.
See, I came looking for technical advice, and you guys gave me much better, more social advice on how to approach the problem. This is fantastic.
Well, man,
if you want to be completely socially inappropriate about it, what you do is you just inundate him with chatter tags. Just post I don't know, every 5 minutes, hey, waiting on you, waiting on you, waiting on you. No?
I'll tell you what.
Okay.
I've actually stopped using the email workflow to send out emails to people because I'm just tagging people in chatter posts all the time. And that's got people more adopted into Chatter because they're following that link and going there and talking back and forth. Sure. So that's coming in very handy to be able to do that through Process Builder.
So one thing to keep in mind with that, I love that idea. One thing to keep in mind is making sure people don't turn off their Chatter notification settings. I actually, when I was with the old company, I had to actually start querying the user object to look for when Chatter permissions got turned off, or for Chatter notifications got turned off, because I was trying to do a similar thing and people got sick of it. So if you really, really, really want to dive into the guts of the user object, the user permission, the ones way at the far right of the CSV export, maybe keep your eye on that. But absolutely, using the chatter post is a phenomenal replacement for the email alert.
One thing too, John, not to steal the software thunder here, but if this executive truly is so busy that that these are not even in his top 10 list, that cost is probably ripe for reengineering anyway. It may be that it doesn't make sense for that executive to be the person who approves these. Maybe they've got there's another layer of management who's lower on the totem pole who can totally handle those approvals. So it may make sense to look at, does it make sense to re-engineer the process entirely so that it doesn't need his approval?
That's a very fair point. It's also one that's been argued here for quite some time to no avail.
Yeah, and that's you're right. And you can only fix so much, but yeah, that's worth considering.
Well, and in addition to why would that executive need to be part of the approval chain? Why the criteria that triggered the approval as well?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe instead of $1,000, it needs to be $10,000 now, which would diminish the the volume.
Mm-hmm.
Just one.
That's helpful. Thank you very much, guys.
Sure.
Awesome. Love it.
Anybody else have somebody wander into their office while they were on the call?
So Christy put in the chat, I can report on users' chatter notification settings. Report, no. Query, yes. So either the dev console or I was using Conga at my old company, so I just had an export that used a Conga query that just said send these fields out. But in the dev console, absolutely. And then, save your query either there in the dev console or in a notepad or something. And then, yes, you can batch change them through data loader. Hashtag overlord. Hashtag do it.
Hashtag keys of the kingdom.
Please show a quick query for groups. Oh, geez, now you people are just asking for the
Ooh, yes. Put them on the spot.
Man.
See it.
Okay.
Show us the query.
Show you the query. Oh, God.
Query now.
So, let's see. Thankfully, this is a dev org. I don't know what you are. But,
possible per group. So are you doing this for all of the different groups that they're associated with, or is it more so in their basic?
For what it's worth, we can't see your window on top of the dev console. So if you're
I know I'm doing super secret stuff. Don't look. Turn the other way.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought maybe you were trying to show us. Nope.
The black box.
It's
don't look at the big red box, everybody. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's not there.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. Everybody laughing is confusing me. Let's see. Oh, because I need a security token. God, I gotta love security. Okay, let's see. Share applications. Why is data loader not showing us something to? Okay, well then you don't need to see this part. But so user browse.
So you're using data loader right now to?
I'm using data loader just to get what fields I need because ReadyTalk won't let me show data loader, and then I'll copy it over into dev console.
Cool.
Okay, so hide you. And then
while he's pulling that up, does anybody have any questions we can answer quick like a bunny? An Easter bunny, if you will.
Good reference.
It's all about the throwbacks.
So if you can all see Excel, this is what comes out of data loader. Just this was go export to user object all fields. And over here, you start to get into all of user permission, user permission, user permission. Some of the field names are kind of clear, support user, knowledge user, things like that. But these can all be leveraged in a simple SOQL query. So like if I wanted to say, give me all users, where's my console query editor? Name and that from user. And then they're all Booleans. And so if you first study that export to know which user fields you'd want to look at, you can throw them in a query and say, give me where true, give me where false, because somewhere down the line here, notification, user reference, user preference. So user preference, disable message email. So what that field means is in your chatter settings, that person has opted to not receive an email when they receive a message through Chatter Messenger. And all of these can be deciphered through Google, Salesforce API user object. You can do that with any object, but
so Dale, while you're doing that, Chrissy has a question of like, okay, she can get it from data loader. Why do the console? I probably have my answer, but what do you think?
Because you can change it right from the console is my answer. If you're in the console, Christy, and you double click on that word false, it surfaces a checkbox. You can uncheck the box, and then there's a save rows button. So you can save it right from, yep. And so then you can see double click, yep. So now that's true. Now it's false. And when you save rows, it will write it to the database. So you can do it right from there. So if your query only looks for folks who have it set to true, you can change. I do this actually to, I have a pretty sophisticated query to deactivate users that haven't logged in 60 days, haven't been modified in 90 days, and then are not part of these profiles, blah, blah, blah. And I use that to deactivate those folks. And so I just double click, change it to a checkbox, check the box, do that down the list, and then hit save rows, and it happily does it for me. So I don't have to spin up the data, create a CSV, spin up the data loader, blah, blah, blah.
And so then that right there, actually, that was interesting. This is a dev org, the Chatter experts, a Chatter profile. That's not something you can do on that profile. It's still leveraging all your live rules, any validations, any license rules, anything like that.
And that little red triangle means that your change is unsaved to the database. That's why you're seeing that little red thing. But he can't save that because Chatter Expert is a super secret special user. A super secret special Salesforce things. That's why I use the Dev Console. I don't know if you have a different reason why you use the Dev Console, Jared.
No, I agree. I think it's super nice because you don't have to. Yeah, it is one by one. I don't think there's a way to do it necessarily in bulk, but for things like this, it makes it really easy.
Well, and if you've got your query, it looks like when you do this every Monday morning, Christy, you come in and check and uncheck the box for everybody who may have checked it over the weekend because they're jerks. You've got that history. You can just rerun that same query, see who changed it, and fix it real quick. Of course, then when it comes to why did they unsubscribe and they're not unsubscribed, then you have to have a reasonable explanation for why you hate them and require that they get email, but that's okay.
But if I could just give one tip in general for admins and devs out there, if you have an empty Friday afternoon, I discovered all of that just by opening Data Loader one day and saying, show me all the freaking objects I have in my org, and just started exporting them and playing around with what fields, what objects, all that kind of stuff. You can learn so much just by playing with that. Reports are great for reporting, but if you really want to know the guts of your org, you got to go to Data Loader or to Workbench or And then once you get that information, then start playing with it in Dev Console. Really get familiar with that to truly know how your org is running. So.
What other questions?
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left. You may have any other questions we want to throw out there? Nobody? All right. If you insist, we do have our next call is May 5th, and Kelly Leslie will be our special guest. So if she can bring your questions around, leadership, peer buy-in, career path advice, and advancing your admin position within the organization. Should be good stuff. We're looking forward to that. Amber, thanks so much for your time and expertise. We'll look forward to hearing. I'll look forward to hearing about that the story in person. I like that idea. So, yeah. With that being said, again, Amber, thanks for your time. Thanks everyone who joined. Great questions, great dialogue. Until the next one, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.